I feel like my life is shattered into a million pieces, and I have no idea how to pick them up. I'm only 19, but the weight of my struggles makes me feel like I'm carrying the burden of a lifetime. I've been dealing with trauma and emotional pain since I was a child, but it didn't really hit me until I grew older. Now, it feels like I'm drowning in my own despair, and I don't know how much longer I can keep my head above water. I'm just 19, but my life has been marked by trauma for as long as I can remember. As a child, I didn't fully understand the impact of those experiences, but as I grew older, the weight of them began to crush me. My dad's passing when I was just 10 years old left a gaping hole in my life. After that, I was constantly reminded that I was now the sole breadwinner, the only one my mom could rely on. The pressure was suffocating. I felt like I had to be the strong one, the one who would make everything okay again. But the truth is, I've always felt useless, like I'm just going through the motions of life without any purpose. I've grown to resent the people around me, including myself. There was even a time when I felt hatred towards my mom, not because I didn't love her, but because her constant reminders about the importance of studying and doing extra felt like a burden I couldn't carry. It felt like she was relying on me to fix everything, and I didn't know how to do that. When I was around 17 or 18, the darkness felt overwhelming. I reached a point where I honestly didn't want to wake up anymore. The thought of continuing this life, with all its pain and struggles, felt like too much to bear. Even now, there are days when I wish I could just disappear, when the thought of living another day feels like a burden I can't carry. I felt so desperate to escape my reality that I've tried to run away from it, literally. When my mom considered remarrying, I saw it as an opportunity to get away from the constant reminders of my failures and responsibilities. I went to live with my dad's side of the family, hoping to find some solace, some peace. But even that didn't last. My mom came back for me after a year, and I returned home, only to find out that she had canceled her plans for remarriage. I felt like I was right back where I started, trapped in a life I didn't want to live. Returning home felt like stepping back into the same old nightmare. My mom and I went back to our routine, living together like nothing had changed. She loves me deeply, I know that, but her love feels suffocating. Every time she says she's doing everything for me, that I'm her only hope, I feel a surge of resentment. I hate those words because they remind me that I'm the only one she's relying on. I don't want to be her crutch, her reason for living. I want her to be selfish, to live her own life, to find her own happiness. But every time I try to pull away, she pulls me closer, reminding me that I'm all she has. It's a heavy burden to carry, knowing that my mom's entire world revolves around me. And the truth is, I feel worthless, like I'm not enough to be her hope, her reason for living. I feel like I'm just a constant reminder of her own struggles, her own pain. And right before I started college, I met her, the girl who would change everything for me. I fell deeply in love with her, and for the first time in my life, I felt like I had found someone who truly understood me. She was the only person I ever wanted to make happy, the only one I wanted to do things for. I still love her to this day, and I know I will until my last breath. But she didn't feel the same way. She friend-zoned me, and it felt like my heart had been ripped apart. That was the final blow, the last straw that broke me. Now, I feel like I'm cursed. Like anything I touch will only end up ruined or hated. I feel like I'm toxic, like I'm a poison that will destroy everything good in my life. That's why I've given up, why I feel like I'm just going through the motions, waiting for the inevitable. Music, sketching, and writing are my passions, the things that bring me solace and joy. But my mom will never consider them viable career options. To her, success means getting good grades and studying hard, but the thought of studying makes my skin crawl. I tried to fit into her mold. I really did. I enrolled in college, but I couldn't take it. I dropped out in my first year, but I was too afraid to tell my mom. So, I've been lying to her, telling her I'm still in college, just to avoid her disappointment. But now, she wants to visit my college to see how I'm doing. And I'm terrified. To make matters worse, I've been using her bank account for my personal expenses over the past 2.5 years. I've spent a staggering 70,000 rupees without her knowledge, and she found out yesterday. I'm trapped in a web of lies, and I don't know how to escape. My mom's discovery has shattered the little trust we had left. She's furious, and rightfully so. But her words cut deep. She says, I'm just like my dad, ruining everything I touch. I want to prove her wrong, to show her I can be responsible. I want to get a job, earn my own money. and be independent. But I'm stuck in this lie, and I don't know how to escape. She thinks I'm in college, studying hard, but the truth is, I haven't set foot in a classroom for 2 years. If she finds out, I'm terrified of what will happen. I feel like I'm running out of options. Either I'll have to run away from home, or worse, I'll be consumed by the darkness that's been following me for so long. The thought of ending my life is becoming increasingly tempting, a way to escape the shame, the guilt, and the constant feeling of being a disappointment.
Story 2.
I am an angry piece of shit. I'm 15 years old, and my life feels like a never-ending nightmare. I'm stuck in a living hell, surrounded by things that make me want to scream. My anger is like a fire that's constantly burning inside me, and I don't know how to put it out. Sometimes I feel like I'm just a ticking time bomb, waiting to explode and take everything around me down with me. Sorry if my English isn't perfect, I'm still learning. I'm only 15, and my life is a mess. I live in a country in Central Asia, Kazakhstan, where everything seems to be falling apart. I feel like I'm drowning in a sea of problems, and I don't know how to keep my head above water. From the crumbling buildings to the corrupt government, everything around me seems broken. I'm just a teenager, but I already feel like I've seen too much. I'm tired of living in a place where hope seems like a distant dream. Let's start with the neighbors below me. They're a family of kind people, but there's one person who ruins it for everyone. He's always drinking and smoking, and the smell of alcohol and burning cigarettes fills the stairwell. Every time I go up or down the stairs, I'm hit with that terrible smell. It's like a punch to the gut, a constant reminder of the chaos around me. And then there's the screaming. Every day, I wake up to the sound of yelling and shouting. It's like living in a war zone. I'm at my breaking point. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. I tried to find solace in music school, but ironically, improving my hearing skills only made my life worse. Now I can pick up on every nuance of the chaos around me, every shout, every slam, every wail of sirens in the distance. It's like my senses are constantly surrounded by noise and chaos. I often have to listen to my neighbors' arguments or the scum hanging around near the playground, shouting and laughing. It's like they're intentionally trying to make my life miserable. And it's not just noise. It's gotten to the point of violence and car theft. I've seen people getting beaten up and cars being smashed or stolen. It's like living in a war zone. This is just shitty. It feels like every time I try to pick myself up, life kicks me back down. Every 2 or 3 years, something devastating happens that breaks me into pieces. I have to literally gather the fragments of myself and try to move on, just to survive. It's exhausting. The first thing that happened to me was my cat. I loved that cat. It was my only friend, my only comfort. But then, I'll stop here. Please go ahead and provide the next part. My father took my cat away from me when I was just 4 years old. He left her far away from home, and I never saw her again. I was devastated. I didn't understand why my beloved pet was gone. A year later, when I was 5, my dog died. I was heartbroken. But that wasn't the end of it. Our other big dog, the one I loved and played with every day, was shot. The authorities said she could hurt someone, but that was a lie. She was a gentle soul, and she never hurt anyone. My parents were forced to let them take her away, and I was left with a gaping hole in my heart. The only good thing that came out of that time was my mother's decision to move us to a new place. She wanted us to have a better education, and I guess it was a good idea. But it's hard to see the good in anything when you're still reeling from loss. We left behind the urban-type settlement where I grew up, and I had to start over in a new place, without my pets, without my friends. It was tough. I was 7 years old when my music teacher started locking me in a practice room, scolding me relentlessly, and not letting me out until I was in tears. I felt trapped and alone. To make matters worse, my friends abandoned me around the same time. I was left to face the bullying and abuse on my own. My father's attitude towards my eldest sibling was toxic, and it often spilled over onto me. I was beaten and belittled, and I felt like I was walking on eggshells around my own family. The physical abuse took a toll on my body, and I developed dermatitis. The stress and anxiety made me sick, and when I was 6 or 7 years old, my appendix burst. I was in agony, and the pain was a constant reminder of the chaos and suffering that surrounded me. I felt like my body was failing me, just like everyone else in my life. I moved to a new place when I was 10, but the scars of my past stayed with me. When I was 12, my parents were still trying to build their lives, but I was already carrying the weight of my own guilt. My grandfather passed away when I was 14, and it felt like another piece of my heart was gone. I've always been my own worst critic, replaying every mistake, every missed opportunity, and every flaw in my head. I blame myself for not being perfect, for not studying hard enough, for not being good enough. The guilt is suffocating. I remember when I was 9 or 10, I lashed out at a friend in anger and said something horrible. Yes. Let your dad die. His father was never around, and I knew it was a sensitive spot. But I didn't mean it, and it came out in a moment of hurt and anger. He stopped talking to me after that, and it wasn't just him. Our friends and even some classmates turned against me. I was alone again. And then, in a fit of rage, I beat up a boy who had been bullying me. But when I saw him with his mother, saw the worry in her eyes, I felt a deep shame. I realized that I had become just like the people I hated, hurtful, angry, and alone. After everything I've been through, I've realized that I don't want to hurt anyone else. I don't want to beat, insult, or humiliate others because I know how it feels to be on the receiving end. Every person is valuable and loved by someone, and I don't want to take that away from them. I've struggled with aggression and emotionality for so long, trying to make sense of my own feelings and experiences. And yet, despite all this, my relatives, my uncles and aunts, think I'm perfect for taking care of children. They see me as an excellent nanny. But the truth is, I can't stand kids. I know it sounds harsh, but after everything I've been through, the last thing I want is to be responsible for someone else's well-being. I'm still trying to figure out my own life, my own emotions, and my own worth. Being around children just feels like another burden, another reminder of my own vulnerabilities. Just thinking about myself makes me feel disgusted. I'm constantly torn apart by feelings of guilt, fear of the future, and paranoia that someone is always watching me. Sometimes I completely lose touch with reality and spiral into darkness. Even though things have gotten better lately, my brothers are making an effort to spend more time with me, I still feel like I'm withering away, consumed by my own self-doubt and negativity. I'm honest with myself when I say that I don't really care what happens to me anymore. I've given up trying to win people over or seek their approval. The truth is, people don't like me and I don't like them. We tolerate each other. But that's about it. I've come to accept that I'm not liked, and I'm not going to waste my time trying to change that. The only thing I can control is how I feel about myself, and right now, that's not much.